When I lived in Dubai, I had the chance to fly to Jordan and get to know Syrian refugees. I went to help out at a local church in Mafraq that provided food and basic needs to Syrians living on their own outside of the Syrian refugee camps. And it was during these house visits that many of them told us about how having to move inside of these refugee camps was one of the worst days of their lives. It was just so demoralizing because many of them were doctors, teachers, lawyers, engineers before the war turned their lives upside down. The Syrian civil war is one of the worst humanitarian crises of our time. In 2011, a civil war broke out and 14 million people fled to neighboring countries like Jordan and Lebanon. Many of them lost family members in battle, lost their jobs and their livelihoods. Refugee camps were set up and some people were able to afford to live on their own from life savings or other people helping them. They were even lucky enough to be placed by the UN to be in another country to be resettled. So after multiple trips to visit these Syrian refugees, it all started to feel a bit hopeless because things weren't changing and they started to realize that they weren't going to be able to go home anytime soon and that the war wasn't going to end. I didn't just want to feel bad and hopeless for them going there. So I started to think how I could possibly encourage or connect with what they were going through because it just seems like our lives are so different. And it's crazy because it was when I was helping with food distributions at the church that I realized that this same thing happened to my Chinese Taiwanese family. My grandparents lost everything when they fled to Taiwan from China in the 1950s. Growing up, my dad told me how poor they were in Taiwan, that he had to go into the Catholic church to get a bag of rice for free. So it actually dawned on me then how similar my family was to what these Syrians were going through and how I could actually relate to them. But isn't it funny how fast we are to forget our past? For me, growing up in the US, I wasn't close to my grandparents and I didn't really have ties to Taiwan to really know what had happened with the Chinese Civil War. And I just thought it was so incredible when I was able to connect my own roots to what people are actually going through today and how they're really struggling. Because as of now, half of Syrian refugees are still internally displaced. They are waiting for a call to be resettled or looking for a change or someone to help so that they stop feeling like refugees. Many of them have actually moved on, but their loss is still there. And maybe you know a Syrian right now that you can encourage today. Maybe there are ways your family background can help you make sense of the world today. Let me know in the comments if you have any of these stories. For me, I grieve with the Syrian refugees and their loss. I also look at their future with hope. And I truly believe that as long as there is life, there is hope. And I really hope that these Syrians can get placed to another country where they might perhaps experience greater freedoms and a brighter future for their future generation.